So I think you're going to be hearing about this investigation, and I wanted to cover it and offer some insights and try to add to the conversation. So the investigation I think the news is going to be picking up on is titled Keto-like diet may be linked to higher risk of heart disease and cardiac events. So in this investigation, the researchers looked to people who were enrolled in the UK Biobank. And that's a long-term investigation that's got over 500,000 people in it. They're following for a long time to see if their health status is impacted by the way they live. So when they looked at the people in this UK Biobank, they identified 305 people who indicated that they were following a keto-like diet. They're calling a low carbohydrate, high fat diet in the 24 hours before they were enrolled in this investigation. And then they matched them up with over 1,200 people who said they were eating a more standard diet. They followed these people up for almost a dozen years, and they compared them to each other and realized that those people who were following a keto-like diet had more than 2 times the risk of having several major cardiac events, including blockages in their arteries, heart attacks, strokes, peripheral artery disease, etc. They further noted that almost 10% of the people following a keto-like diet experienced a new cardiac event compared to only about 4.3% of those following a more standard diet. So essentially, people following a keto-like diet had almost twice the risk of heart problems than those who were not following a keto-like diet. They further go on to say that those who had the highest levels of bad cholesterol in their blood had the greatest risk of heart problems. So a few things I want to point out with this investigation. Number one, everything you see here is basically a press release. What you're going to be hearing about on the news, this study here, is not yet peer reviewed. In other words, it did not go through the full peer review process yet, where other competent scientists look through the data, make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Rather, what you're hearing about right now is a study that was presented at the American College of Cardiologists annual scientific convention. Generally presented studies don't necessarily have to go through the peer review process, so I am looking forward to when this study gets peer reviewed. One other thing I do want to point out with this study, and I do think it is a limitation, and they point it out here. So if we scroll down a little bit further, they point out that the people who were enrolled in this UK Biobank investigational study, they provided their dietary information at only one point in time when they enrolled. In other words, even though they followed these people for about 12 years, they didn't go back periodically every 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, etc., and say, hey, are you still following the ketogenic diet? No, they only looked at people who indicated in the very first instance that they were following a low carbohydrate diet. I will also point out that they defined what a low carbohydrate, high fat diet is by saying that it was one that was no more than 25% of their calories from carbohydrates and about 45% of the calories from fat. I do want to point that out because anybody who's following a keto diet knows that it is not 25% of daily calories from carbohydrates, but rather a lot less, like 5 to 10% of daily calories. That's why they're calling it keto-like, basically extending the umbrella to include a wide range of low carbohydrate eating regimens. So I know this investigation is going to have its detractors out there, and on the surface I could be included in one of them until it gets peer reviewed. However, this study adds to the growing list of evidence that suggests that a ketogenic diet raises bad cholesterol levels and may not be so heart healthy. Let me show you some other investigations. So I'll switch screens here and I'll point out this study here. A ketogenic low carbohydrate fat diet increases LDL bad cholesterol in healthy young normal weight women. So again, it's a small study, only 17 women in this investigation, but they do point out that LDL cholesterol increased in every woman who was on that diet. Let's move on to another study. profound elevation of LDL cholesterol levels following a ketogenic diet. This is not technically a clinical study, but rather it's a series of case reports of single individuals who were following keto and saw really large elevations in bad cholesterol levels. Here is another one. Significant impact of a ketogenic diet on low density lipoprotein levels. So again, this is a case report of a single individual who started to do a ketogenic diet for about 1 month. And they report here that her LDL level of cholesterol went up to 199 milligrams per deciliter, which is pretty much on the high side. Drawback to this study is I don't know what it was in the beginning. Was it high to begin with? Really don't know. But again, her total cholesterol was also pretty darn high at 283. That brings us to this study that I really, really want to see replicated. It came out in 2018. The 3-month effects of a ketogenic diet on body composition, blood parameters, and performance metrics in CrossFit trainees, a pilot study. Pilot study means it's essentially a baby study, an investigational study, which should indeed be followed up with a larger study to see if what is finding is true. This study had some very interesting findings that I want to call to your attention. The first one I will point out is that those who did the ketogenic diet saw an increase in bad cholesterol levels by about 35%. So their cholesterol levels went up 35% doing a ketogenic diet while they were doing CrossFit. So this is a 3-month-long study. That's one of the reasons I do like it. Unfortunately, it is a small study, only 12 people in this investigation. They broke them up into 2 groups. One group eats normally for 3 months and does CrossFit regularly. The other group eats a ketogenic diet for 3 months and does CrossFit regularly as well. And they do before and after blood tests and fitness tests on them, etc. And they have some interesting findings. And this is the reason why I want to see this study replicated. So they measured body fat with the DEXA scan, which is the most accurate measure of body fat available. And they find that body fat goes down in the ketogenic group by 12.4%. That, in my opinion, is a lot, although for the scientists who are watching me, I will point out that this is a non-clinically significant amount. If you're reading clinical studies, when you see P, the letter P, and it's less than 0.05, it means it's not clinically significant. However, 12.4% drop in body fat, I would think that most people would say is real life significant. So they don't always add up to each other. But the other thing that really grabbed my attention here is the DEXA scan also noted that the lean mass in their legs decreased in the keto group by 1.4%. Again, I will point out that's non-clinically significant. And the thickness of their vastus lateralis muscle, that's a muscle in the thigh, decreased in the keto group by about 8%. Again, this is a not clinically significant value. However, I would bet most gym rats would consider an 8% loss of muscle to be real life significant. So what they're saying here is it possible that a ketogenic diet leads to muscle loss? And if that is so, not even CrossFit could prevent muscle loss on a ketogenic diet. Now, I will call out a couple things with this study, and I'm very glad the researchers pointed this out as well. They say that we're not sure if the loss of muscle mass in the legs and the vastus lateralis is due to fluid shifts. In other words, water moving in and out of the tissue. Water is a fat-free mass. It's not just muscle. So is it possible that by the time they were doing the testing of body fat, is it possible that fluid was moving out of the tissue, and could this have caused a potential loss of lean muscle mass? That's a possibility. And I applaud them for saying that. It's another reason why I want to see this followed up with a much larger study. However, there are some other findings with this study, which another reason why I want it to be replicated. Let's look at the fitness test evaluations. So they did before and after fitness tests on these people, and they find that in the keto group, resting energy metabolism is no different than people who eat normally, 1 repetition maximum on the back squat is no different in the keto group. They could not run faster on the keto group. Their aerobic potential was not different between either group as well. In other words, what they're saying here is that a keto diet does not make you bigger, stronger, or faster. So really interesting investigation. This one again came out in 2018. I don't know why this study has not been replicated to my knowledge. I have been looking and I haven't found it. So if you have seen this study replicated with a larger group of people, let me know. And if you are in college right now and you're searching for a dissertation topic or a master's thesis topic, this is the thing to do. You would be very popular if you did this study, especially with me. So that's what's up with this study. But I also got one more study I want to call to your attention here, and that is keto is trending, implications for body weight and lipid management. So this study, they do point out something that I think is really, really important here, and that is when it comes to keto diet, there is a variable response in the low density lipoprotein levels. In other words, some people may do a keto diet and see no change in their bad cholesterol levels. Bad cholesterol may not rise in some people, only in some people who may be genetically predisposed to this. I think that's a valid claim and one that I would like to see more research on. And I wanted to bring that up because it's quite possible I may be hearing from people, because I'm doing this video, who said that they saw no change and maybe even saw a decrease in bad cholesterol from keto. And if that is you, 2 thumbs up for you. I think that's phenomenal. But I also wanted to point out something else that they bring to light in the study, and that is when it comes to short-term weight loss, keto diet, everybody agrees. You're going to lose weight quickly on a keto diet. Most of that weight loss in the beginning is going to be water. However, they also point out that there is no difference between a keto diet and other diets when you take them out more than a year. So if you're thinking about losing weight, you're looking for a diet out there, you want to do a keto diet, that's great. It's going to be hard to follow long term. And if you can follow it long term, like a year or more, the weight you lose on keto does not appear to be significantly different than any other diet out there. So what do you think of all this? Leave a comment below. I hope this quick video helped you. And until next time, gang, whatever diet you choose, take care out there.